You know what it is, man. It's your man, Levon. All right, testimony time, y'all. There was a time where I sacrificed, but I wasn't obedient. Dig what I mean by that? I would sacrifice my paycheck, but I wasn't obedient with my heart. I would sacrifice my time, but I wasn't obedient with my love. I would sacrifice my ear, but I wasn't obedient with my mouth. I would sacrifice study, right? But I wasn't obedient in my prayer life. So those are just some examples of sacrifice and obedience. You know, I would sacrifice. I was willing to sacrifice. But at the same token of me sacrificing these things and these actions, there are areas of my life that I wasn't being obedient, right? And so when God says he would rather us be obedient than sacrifice, that's exactly what he's talking about. Because we can sacrifice a lot of things and we can think, oh, we're doing this great thing, you know, for God. We're sacrificing our time and our talent and our treasures, right? But yet, are we being obedient to his call? Are we being obedient to the leading of the Holy Spirit? Are we just being obedient to what the word says and we already know what the word says? Let's talk about it. Now, we were we were a blended family, right? We had a lot of kids, right? And we were a baseball family. We were a sports family. Our kids were involved in baseball. So every weekend, almost seemed like, from spring until well after summer, we were at the baseball field, or we were traveling, because we were a traveling family, right? So for me, it was a sacrifice. I want to give my kids the best. Yes, I want to keep them out of trouble and away from the wrong crowds of people. So I constantly kept them in sports. Sports ain't cheap, y'all. So it was a sacrifice financially. It was a sacrifice of my time. After working, 12-hour days, 13-hour days, and then driving an hour and a half to 2 hours home. That was a sacrifice to turn around and get up early Saturday morning, because I worked at night. So by the time I got home, it was 4 o'clock in the morning, and then had to get up 3 to 4 hours later to be at a baseball game. And most of the time they had 2 games, one in the morning and one in the afternoon. And it wasn't like there was distance between the two where you could go get something to eat. No, you had to kind of be there, or you had to go run, come back, because the next game was starting in like 2 hours, right? So I said all that to say that it was a sacrifice, y'all. All the money was spent on all the, the clubs and the uniforms and all these other fees that go along with being a part of the organization, on top of the stuff that you buy for your child separately. It was a sacrifice. The time, the gas, the driving, you know what I'm saying? Dealing with other kids out there because they're not playing, so they're not really interested. So now you gotta tag team and keep everything together. Then on top of that, by the time you get home, if you're not too tired and the wife is not too tired, you still have to try to sacrifice to spend some kind of time together, right? But yet, my heart, y'all, my heart was not obedient to listening what God said do. Whether it be in going, while I was out there, after the fact, right? Or I might have sacrificed money and spent a lot of money, but yet my obedience was not unto God in certain areas, right? Whether it was, being loving to my wife because I'm tired and irritated and all that. But I hear God saying, be loving, be kind, be gentle, even to, through my tiredness, to push through and press forth past that, but I wasn't obedient in that area, right? Or I might have sacrificed over here and over there. I might have sacrificed for other people and other family members. But yet I wasn't obedient to what God told me about my own household. So those are just areas that I wanted to share with you guys on sacrifice and obedience. And yeah, I could go deeper than that. There were many times where, I would sacrifice what I wanted at the time, right? What I thought I wanted and what I thought I needed, what I thought I deserved. But yet I was disobedient in other areas concerning my wife, concerning my home, my family. You feel me? So it's one thing to sacrifice, and it's good to sacrifice, right? There's a place for it, but it's a whole nother animal to operate in obedience. Because see, when we operate in obedience, then our obedience unto God may not require a sacrifice. But because we're so trained in doing things traditionally, doing things the way we've always done them. So when God says, I'm going to do a new thing, we want to fight against God. We want to buck the system. We want to sit back and wait and see how it's going to play out. But God says, I want to do a new thing, and I want to do it in you. So are we willing to be obedient even unto death? Or are we just willing to sacrifice? Because we would rather sacrifice and do things rather than be obedient and have relationships. See, it's not about religion. Religion is in the doing. We have to do this and do that. But God desires relationship. He desires a one-on-one personal relationship, because we have a personal relationship with him, then we'll be obedient to him. But it's when we're caught up in religion that we get caught up in the sacrifices. Now let's get into the word. But before we do that, please subscribe to the channel. Hit that red button right there. Don't cost you a thing. I'm trying to get over 2,000 subscribers this year. Won't y'all help me? Please like this video. It helps the algorithm and lets YouTube know that people are interested in watching the videos. And please like the video, right? Share it on all your platforms, with your family, with your co-workers, with your friends, with people that you don't even know. Share the video, you dig? Now let's get off into this word. Listen, 1 Samuel, the 15th chapter and the 22nd verse, it reads as thus. And Samuel said to the people, hath the Lord as great delight in burnt offerings and sacrifices as in obeying the voice of the Lord? In other words, does God have great delight in us sacrificing burnt offerings and sacrifices unto him more than being obedient to his voice? Behold, to obey is better than sacrifice, and to hearken than the fat of rams. God desires us to be obedient to his word more than he desires burnt offerings, more than he desires us sacrificing the fat of the burnt rams, right? To be a sweet smelling savor to his nostrils. God requires obedience more than that. He would rather you obey his word and hearken to his voice than you sacrificing these sacrifices that half the time are empty and vain. You dig? He requires relationship with us, with you and me, not religious, not traditions. So let's stop with all that. Let's stop with trying to do because it looks good and it appears that we're holy. But let's really get down to the meat and bones. Let's get to where the rubber meets the road, man, and develop relationship with him over sacrifice, because that's truly what he wants. Why? Because if you have relationship with him, then he can call on you. He can talk to you. He can reason with you. And you'll listen and you'll hear what he has to say. You'll talk back to him. That's called relationship. Not putting on these airs, not putting on these grandiose sacrifices, all this big traditional type stuff, and your heart is far from him. You bumping your gums, right? You doing a whole lot of talking. You serving him with lip service, but our hearts are far from him. Because we don't have relationship with God. So I just want to come on and testify today, man, of what I went through where sacrificing and obedience was concerned. You know what I'm saying? And if you're in that place where you're doing all this sacrificing, you're sacrificing your time, your talent, your treasure, you're running yourself ragged in all this doing for God, rather than taking the time out, right? And sitting like Mary and gleaning and listening and hearing and being obedient to having a relationship with God. It's not always in the doing, but it's always in the listening and the obedience. Yo, be blessed on today. Just want to come on real quick and give y'all that testimony, right? What's your testimony in the areas concerning obedience and sacrifice? Somebody needs to hear your testimony. Somebody needs to know that they're not the only ones that's struggling in the area of sacrifice, and that they need to build up in the area of obedience. Share your testimony down below. What God has done for you, what he's shown for you, how he has built you up and revealed to you the same thing, that he wanted to have relationship in your obedience to him, and not just in the sacrifice in your doing for him. This is your man, Levon. Be blessed on today. Remember, Lamella E, love, uplift, motivate, inspire, learn, laugh, encourage, and enlighten. Encourage and enlighten somebody today. Love on somebody today. Uplift someone today. You know what I'm saying? Show them that you're motivated to have a relationship with them. You want to learn with them and laugh with them while you're also inspiring them. You know what it is, man. It's your man, Levon, and I'm out. See you in my next video.